we had a pet monkey in our recon platoon. And this stupid little, somebody thought it'd be great to have a monkey. Of course, we didn't realize that the locals would eat them. That was part of their, their diet, I guess. So this monkey'd be in there, and we had electric lights strung by wire, and you had a little pull chain. So the monkey'd be up there pulling the lights on and off all night. So the guys would be hollering, throwing shoes at this monkey, and he'd be up there laughing at you, pulling the light on and off all night.
We're out sailing wherever we were, and they would take these big oil drums and cut them lengthwise, put charcoal in them, and we'd have cookouts. And they had volleyball games up there, and you see the smoke coming up from the grill, and it looks like a poor man's cruise ship. And it was, meanwhile, we got planes flying over, heading in for bombing missions, and it's like you're saying, oh, and they're looking down saying, oh yeah, great, tough duty down there.
Happiest memory? The Bob Hope Show, 1971. We had a lottery, and I won the lottery. There were like 3 guys that could go from the squadron, and I was one of them. Sat in the pouring rain for like hours waiting for him to come. And then remembering as a kid watching those Christmas shows, and then being there and seeing him, and I thought that was really cool.
And I can remember playing volleyball at night, and Lieutenant Liner was on the other side on the other team, and we came together at the net. Now, Lieutenant Liner played basketball for the University of Washington. So he was like 6'7", 6'8", big guy. And here comes the ball, and I'm spiking it. Well, you generally use your fist, okay? Well, I missed the ball and punched him right in the face. Down he went. But that's what we used to do at night, either that or play cards.
We sat back there and watched Bob Hope, and I don't know if it was Nancy Sinatra. It could have been any girl. Well, she had a nice short skirt, and she had round eyes. That's what we called her. It was great to see her. It was a long distance away, but it was great to see him.
Was getting your ration of cigarettes or your ration of beer and soda. I wasn't a big drinker, but the soda and stuff, they would come in out of the field, out to the, onto your hill and stuff like that, and they would give you these sodas and stuff like that. And it was like, stupid, insignificant stuff meant the world to you.
Back then you could buy 15, what do they call them back then, 8 tracks, and you get a free player. Everybody was ordering all this stuff. That was probably my scariest moment, was when I ordered, a free 8-track player, and they billed my mother instead of me, and she got all upset. I got more trouble when I got home from that than I did on anything in a service, but because I kept ordering tapes, and by the time I got, never got any bills, she got them all.
And another thing is when I went on R&R, I went to Australia. First thing I did is everybody expected me to go to a bar, get drunk, and go get a young lady or whatever it is. I sat in my hotel room and just flicking light switches on and flushing toilet bowls. And the guy came in and said, "What's wrong with you?" I hadn't seen this in almost a year. I didn't see lights. I didn't see toilet bowls. So to me, I thought it was kind of humorous. That's all I would do was sit with a can of beer and hit light switches and flush a toilet bowl.
We had a fellow who loved black cherries, Bing cherries. And he got a letter from his mother saying that she was sending him a bushel box full of Bing cherries. Well, 2 weeks went by and there was no box. And he was getting worried. Finally, the box arrived. However, for 2 weeks it had been sitting in very humid, very hot areas, probably in a connex somewhere for a while. We opened this box and fumes came out of the box, and he literally started to cry. He had been waiting for these cherries for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden they're here and they're rotted. We put our arm around him and said, "Jimmy, those really aren't rotten cherries. Those are partially fermented cherries. Hey, how do you make brandy?" "Well, let's see. We need cherries. We need fruit juice." "We got fruit juice." "You need some water." "We got water." "We need some sugar." "Well, let's go up to the mess tent and see if we can steal some." and we need yeast. Wow. Don't you know the cooks came up with some yeast? And we stuck this stuff in a big barrel and stirred it once a day, left it out in the hot sun, added some more water. We also at one point did add a quart of witch hazel. We wanted to make sure there was actually some alcohol in there. And we drank this stuff on the 4th of July. And I have to admit that it was pretty bad firewater. It almost tasted like cherry, but it was pretty strong. Whatever we had done, we had made brandy.
Well, one of the funniest things was his name was George Casperson, who was in my outfit. He was from Pennsylvania. And when I was getting ready to go to the air base to get on a C-130 to fly to Saigon, you know, that was it. I'm going home. He come up to me and a lot of hugging and kissing and crying, and he, you know, well, George, you know, never see you again, buddy, you know. He went, oh, yes, you will. What are you talking about? He actually pulled the false teeth out of his mouth and wrapped them in toilet paper and stuck it in my AWOL bag. AWOL bag was a little gym bag, you know. And when I got home, you know, I threw all that stuff away. I threw that AWOL bag in the closet, completely forgot about it. About 5 or 6 months later, there's a knock on the door, and there's George. And he goes, you got my teeth? My father said, who the hell is this guy? And I did have his teeth. They were still wrapped in the toilet paper. So my mother made a big dinner, and he stayed overnight. And tell you, it was amazing. I was so glad to see him.
Like I had a buddy, Johnny Ott. He was a real big guy. I'm a little short guy, and I always used to pick on him. And one time we got those pull poppers where you would pull the strings and they'd go pop. So I tied his sneakers up underneath his bunk. And I started talking to him after we took our showers. I said, you know, the enemy could sneak in here at night and set booby traps, and we wouldn't know it. You know, we'd just open our foot locker and boom, we're dead, you know. I said, come on, John, grab your sneakers and let's go to the movies. And he grabbed them sneakers and that thing popped, and he chased me for at least 10 minutes. But that's some of the silly things you did kept you sane.
Our base camp was in Da Nang, in the backside of Hill 327. And the only other unit that was there was 26 motor transport. And that's where we would eat chow. And we would go there and we'd have hamburgers and the officers would have chicken. We would have chicken, they would have steaks. So a good friend of mine, Mike Oberlander, Obi, we said, you know, we're going to sneak in there one night. We're going to steal a couple cases of steaks and have a party. So one night Mike came to me, it must have been about 9 o'clock. It was dark. He said, let's go get those steaks. So we put gear on, put some paint on our face and everything, camouflage, and we stuck into the base camp. And we went into their reefer freezer. I grabbed the case of steaks and Mike grabbed the case of steaks. And we're starting to come out, and the door starts to open up, and the light goes on. So I back up against the bulkhead, and I'm holding the case of steaks like this. And Mike's across from me. He'll hold the case of steaks like this. And the cook, the chef, comes by us with a tray, and he walks right by us, and he puts it on the shelf, and then he walks out. And we had a heck of a party that night. We were cooking up steaks and everything. It wasn't until the next day we realized that the chef could have locked us in. We'd have been frozen by the time they found us.